attendance to the Zoom online sharing session. I thank the grace of Heavenly Mother, compassion of Maitreya Buddha, and virtue of Sizu Simu, and both Senior Master and Junior Master giving me this opportunity to host this class. Today, we are going to be discussing Chapter 3. It's sort of like a continuation of Chapter 2. Tao Te Ching has 81 chapters. Some of you know Chinese, you will be able to detect that some book title has two versions. Both of them are correct. In reality, when Lao Tzu teach the Tao Te Ching to Yi Xi, he did not give any title. It was just a whole bunch of words. It has 5,284 words. It does not have any chapter. It was the later scholar give the break down the chapter into different sections, and then later people give a name. So sometimes you will see some variation, but not too many, maybe 2 or 3 variation on the title, but the content, it's pretty much very similar. It's not like the Bible, there's a lot of variation, but Tao Te Ching, it's pretty much consistent, except on the title. I want to show you this. On the first section here, it's called The Source of Spiritual Poverty. The second one is The Art of Governing the People. Because initially when I post on Meetup, I put this one, but then later on I changed to this one because I thought this one, maybe it's more, it can connect to us more. And go back to this one, as you can see on my front page, I have a title, Give a Mental Fitness. So this title is not given by Lao Tzu, it's just given by me because I think that this title can bring more connection to us. And as you look through other Tao Te Ching books by other translators, sometimes they will give a title to whatever they think it's relevant. So on this chapter, it's really about Wu Wei. I worry that some of you don't really understand the concept of Wu Wei, so I try to avoid using that term. So I use get a mental fitness. I feel that this one will resonate more with our life. Before we begin on chapter 3, I want to take you back to chapter 2 because chapter 2 has some very important elements that we want to get into our head before we get to chapter 3. So chapter 2 talks about manifestation. Chapter 2 is about manifestation and Tao essence. So this part is the visible part. It's what everybody sees. This part is the invisible part. For example, we see somebody who has a very successful career and we will admire them very much. And we say, oh, I want to be like that. But it's hard for us to imagine how much struggle and how much difficulty the person endure to get to that point. So what we see is we just see the surface. We did not really see what happened. We tend to see the long instead of the short. We see that there's the Great Wall in China. We see the magnificent structure, but we forgot that the Great Wall was built by brick by somebody, and maybe somebody died of, I mean, a lot of people died while building the bridge. So we forgot that part. And we tend to look in the high and not looking in the low. We tend to look in the reputation, building up our reputation, but forgot building up our character. And the same thing that when we go to the restaurant, we tend to look at the beautiful setting of the restaurant. We look at the waiter and the waitress, maybe the cashier, but we forgot that there's another important hero in the kitchen. That's the chef. They are working very hard. So keep this in mind. So we tend to look at this manifestation instead of the Tao essence. Lao Tzu wants us to look at this part, which is this part. You see the iceberg here? It's what really happened. So now let's go to chapter 3. So chapter 3 is really interesting because when you look at the content, it seems like it's talking about the society. So the content can be break it down to 3 sections. This one, it's sort of like the introduction section, and then this one is the body, this one is the conclusion. So the first part, Lao Tzu talk about the symptom of our society. Our society, people tend to look at the high, look at the difficult part. They look at the successful person, successful business person, the hero, the celebrity. We tend to look at the commercial, the beautiful commercial, but we forgot who really actually put this together. So that's the symptom of our society. And then this one is a sense treatment, and this is a recommendation. The last one is the summary. The first line is do not admire the influentials. Here, the influential is somebody who has a very high social status. For example, Shakyamuni Buddha has a high social status, and that's what everybody admire. But Lao Tzu say, do not admire the influential. Here, he's talking about the fake one. There is the fake monk, the fake Guruji, or the fake teacher, the fake professor. Somebody will use money to buy their title. It's like sometimes when we look at people's resume, they tend to overstate themselves because they want to look better. And so here, influential is really about the fake people. And nowadays we have the fake patriarchs. The fake patriarch. There's, from what we know, there's total of 64 patriarchs, but the number just keep growing. Lao Tzu say we shouldn't focus on the name because the name, the status, the title, and the fame, those are just our desires. So the more that we focus in, it's just a negative energy that will bring us to this dark energy part. Here I have a picture of the yin and yang. So on the left side, it's the early heaven. This is the original you. So on the white side, it's the original us. We are the pure consciousness that comes from the source. So our original nature has no color. It will not increase, it will not decrease. It's the same as yesterday, and it will be the same as tomorrow. It was the same before you were born, and you will be the same after you die. So this part is us. It's this white part, but when I say white, I mean it does not have color. And then the black part is the later heaven. So before we were born, we were all pure emptiness. It does not have color, not even white. So that's our original pure consciousness. It's full of perfection. It's full of wisdom. It's full of perfection of paramita. So on the right, it's that the time that when we were born, we are acquiring this physical body. With this physical body, we have our 6 senses, our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our hearing, and that gives you our vision, our taste, and our physical sensation. So with this physical manifestation, it brings us to the dark part. But within the dark part, it has this white dot. So this white dot, it's our original true self. We all have this white part, and this white part, it's what's supposed to guide us. But a lot of time we are in this black part, and we think that this black part is us. A lot of people, or even us, some of us might think that, oh, I'm in this physical realm, this is me. Lao Tzu try to correct our thinking. This is not really us. The white part is us. But because right now we are in this physical realm, we acquire this physical body, we have this 7 emotion, we have 6 senses. Sometimes we feel that we have a low energy, we feel that our energy is very dense. So we think we are in this black part. In reality, we come from this white part. So in order to go to this white part, in order to liberate yourself or ourselves, we have to think that we come from the white to the black. Instead of that, we are born out of black and we are going to return to white. So this is a different logic. Let me repeat to you again. So Before we were born, we come from this part. And then after we acquire this physical body, we're supposed to learn how to manifest ourselves in this physical realm with our wisdom to take us to the white part. But if we get lost, we will continue stay in the black part. Therefore, it's important to learn how to manifest ourselves to take us back to the white part. So let me give you an example. If you go on to a vacation, I mean, right now we are in pandemic, we are not supposed to go to vacation. But if we do go to vacation, we will go to hotel or go to hotel to stay a couple nights. But after we finish our vacation, we know that the hotel that we stay in is just a hotel. We need to go back home. So going back home is going back to this white part. You would not think that hotel is your home. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that hotel is our home. So we need to have that mentality change. Right now, we are all in this later heaven. In this later heaven, it's full of darkness. People are admiring the influential. People are chasing the name, want to be in high status, want to acquire fame. So these are very negative energy. Try to avoid that. This resonates with chapter 2. When people recognize beauty as beauty, ugliness appears. When people recognize good as good deed, evil appears. If somebody is focusing very much on the names, on the influential thing, they will not focus on the virtue, on the essence and the Tao. So it's a question that we have to ask ourselves. We are on a scale. Which one are we focusing on? It's either one or the other. It's impossible to balance all. Which one are you on? Do not praise the valuable, so the people will not steal. Do you know that we have the most valuable thing in our life? We all have. And the most valuable thing that we have is the yin and yang. Remember, we have this black part and there's a white dot. So that's the most precious thing. With that precious thing, it's going to allow us to take us back to heaven. We all want to go to heaven. So the most important thing is to discover, polish our wisdom. With that wisdom, that's the most important thing in our life, to magnify that, to beautify our wisdom, to take us back to heaven. So knowing that our original pure consciousness is the most valuable thing in our life, why would we want to praise the valuable? So here, praising the valuable here, it means that something very expensive. For example, a big house, Mercedes-Benz, Ferraris. If those things are not so valuable, people will not steal. These are the things that money can buy. We can buy delicious food. We can buy expensive cosmetic. We can buy luxurious bedding, thousands of books, and we can buy status and authority, but we cannot buy this thing. So the key is to be in content. We don't need delicious food. We just need the basic food to fulfill our stomach. We don't need cosmetic because our natural beauty, it's already beautiful. Why we need to put cosmetic? But it's unfortunate that now everybody put cosmetics. Therefore, a lot of girls are forced to put cosmetic. I remember I used to work in a company. I was told that, Joanna, you have to put cosmetic because this is the social norm. If you don't put cosmetic, you are not allowed to talk to a client. So this is very unfortunate. But now, since I'm not in that industry, so I'm very lucky. I don't need to put cosmetic. So we don't really need luxury bedding. We just need a regular bed. In the books, we don't need to buy a lot. We don't need to buy so many books. Some people have beautiful rooms, and in that room, there's many shelves of books to look so impressive because it's their library. We don't need that because our wisdom is really built in within. We need some books to help us to enlighten ourselves, but don't need a lot of books. Sometimes people use books to impress people. You know, I on my bookshelf, I have the Diamond Sutra, I have Bible, different version, this and that. I have the Confucius, Analect, I have I Ching, I have Tao Te Ching, I have the Great Learning. But it's not so much book that you have, it's how much you can use in your life, right? When we praise the valuable, we begin to calculate how much gain and loss we have. So again, when we calculate the gain and the loss we have, we shift our mind to the black part. And the black part, it's really like a tunnel, because once you get in and you need to be able to pull yourself out. If you cannot pull yourself out, it's like a black tunnel that you cannot see the light. So try not to calculate much of gain and the loss. The best way to think about it is, if we want something and if we cannot get it, then we say, well, by the time when I die, I'm not going to take anything. So why need to get it? And then if you lost something, then we will say, well, because when I was born, I never take anything. So there's no terms of lost. Not focusing too much on the gain and loss, because that will take you to the yin energy. People are tempted to look for the material ones because we have this physical body. I'm sure if we don't have this physical body, nobody will want this physical thing. But because we have this physical body, and there's a purpose for acquiring this physical body, we are the original pure consciousness to learn how to manifest in this physical realm. So these are all our lessons that we need to learn. We need to learn not to be tempted. We need to learn not to compete. We need to learn not to have much desire. I'm sorry, unless we learn this lesson and we fulfill our lesson, it's just like we go to high school or university. If we don't pass the class, then next year we have to repeat the class, right? So it's the same thing in our lifetime. If we don't learn a lesson, the situation will continue to repeat itself. If a person cannot have a control on his or her anger, that will be able to last for a long time until this person is able to control him or herself, right? So being a saint and a sage, or even Buddha, they focus much on the real. And what is the real? The real thing is the truth. And the real thing is, it's something that cannot be seen, cannot be touched. The real being, it's something that can last forever, that lasts for eternity. And here in our society, most people chase after the influential, chase after the name, chase after the title, chase after the social status, the valuable. So all these things would not last. One day when our body perish, we are not going to take any of that. So let me ask you, when we die, what are we going to take with us? Our original pure consciousness that's with us all the time. It was there before when we were born. So after we die, we will also take it too. The second thing will be our karma, whether it's good karma and bad karma. Question become, do you want good karma or bad karma? Of course, we want good karma. So that's why we need to do good things in order to accumulate good karma. Number 3 is virtue. Virtue is, in Christian term, it's called the heavenly money. So Jesus said that we need to treasure the money in the heaven, but not treasure the money on earth. So virtue is something that we will take with us. So these 3 things: our original consciousness, our good karma. Hopefully our good karma will be more than the bad karma. Number 3 is the virtue. Lao Tzu use 81 chapter to describe what do we need to do in order to take these 3 things with us. So here I have a scale. Again, if somebody is focusing more on the valuable, that person will not be able to focusing on the virtue. So we have to ask ourselves, which one are we focusing more on? It's really important, because if you focus more on the virtue, later on when we pass, we will take more virtue with us. If somebody focus more on the valuable, that person, of course, will not take the valuable with him or her, but together will take a lot of bad karma, because during the course of praising, during the course of competition, during the course of greed, there will be a lot of bad karma incurred. So it's something that we need to watch out. Do not see the desirable, so the mind will not be disturbed. The desirable thing is what we desire from our eyes, from our ears, from our mouth, from our nose, and from our physical sensation. So Lao Tzu said, we don't want the mind to be disturbed. Why not just not see at all? Here I have a picture of the 6 senses. So we are equipped with the 5 organs. And with this 5 organs, it gives us our 6 senses, our vision, our hearing, our smelling, our taste, and our physical sensation. And also we also have this mind. So our mind, it's being somehow directed by our vision and somehow directed by our hearing. And if we don't control our mind well, then there comes our 7 emotions. 7 emotions are the pleasure, the anger, sorrow, joy, love, hate, and desire. The 6 senses and the 7 emotions, it's what we all have. Can we be a human without 7 emotions? That's impossible. We are the original consciousness, come to this earth to learn how to manifest this physical realm. During the manifestation, we need this 7 emotions to manifest ourselves, to exercise our daily affair too, to dealing with our work, to deal with our family, our parents, our kids. It's really important that to understand where our 7 emotions come from. Our 7 emotions comes from our 6 senses. However, we need to have some control over our emotion. If we have too much emotion exercise, then that's when we feel moody. We have so much feeling. If we have so much sorrow for one day, it's okay. For 1 month, it's okay. But what if you have sorrow for many years? What if you have hate for many years? What if you have pleasure for many years? So that's not good. From the feeling and the mood, if you don't control it well, it becomes 3 poisons, which is greed, aversion, and ignorance. So now we are really talking about we are in total darkness in the yin and yang. We are totally in the black part. We cannot pull ourselves out because this is toxic, so contaminated, and we need guidance. So in order to avoid us coming to this stage, we have to come back to our 7 emotions. So when our pleasure arises, when our anger arises, and when our emotion arises, we have to watch and be able to control, right? And this controlling comes from our mind, and our mind is being directed by our 6 senses. So when the thoughts start to arise, then we need to be aware. We need to be sensitive. Like when we go to see the dentist will use some kind of tool into your mouth and say, is this teeth sensitive? And then we will, for the one who have a gum disease, we will say, oh yeah, I feel very sensitive. Oh my God, don't touch that tooth. We need to have that sensitivity in our sense. So we always have to watch our senses. It's like if we have a fever, we will go out to buy a thermometer. If we have a heart condition, we will go buy the pressure pump to check our high blood pressure. So same thing for our 6 senses. We can really check how we exercise our senses. We need to have our invisible thermometer in the white part. In the yin and yang, there's a black part, and the black part, there's a white dot. So that white dot, it's our internal guide. It's our internal thermometer that we really have to use on daily basis. or on hourly basis. So people are very focused on the desirable thing, especially money. We all love money. We cannot do anything without money, although we say money is not really important. We want to have enough money. If we have more, it's a good thing. But if we have more than what we need, what I'm saying is that if we have more than what we deserve, then that cannot be a good thing. Here I have a video, but I don't want to show you because I think you can look at it in your spare time, because after my session, I always share my PowerPoint. Sometimes people receive lottery. They are the lottery winner, they get $2 million or even $10 million or even $100 million. They are so thrilled to receive that money. But this is the time the tragedy hit. Few days later, few months later, this person commits suicide, being gunshot, being murdered. So many tragedy can happen. So money, it's sort of like it has its mind. Money wants to stay with the virtuous person. Money does not want to be with it does not want to be used in a bad way. If any one of us go to buy lottery, I want to say that the money that if it belongs to us, that will be great. But what if it does not belong to us? I suggest that to avoid the tragedy thing happen, because we don't know how much virtue we have. So to avoid the tragedy thing happen, we always want to donate some money to the charity, because we don't know what does the money has in mind. We don't want to fall into this category of a shocking thing that happened to us because we received the lottery money. So here again, I have the scale. So if somebody is focusing more on the desirable thing, then the person will not focus on the virtue. So it's something that we need to pay attention on. Oh, by the way, I'm not saying that don't go to buy lottery. If you go to buy lottery, it's okay. But for me, if I go to buy lottery, I will give some majority of money to the charity and some for me to pay my credit card debt. I kind of sum up the first three verses. Lao Tzu say that this three is the cause for our society, the problem of our society. Because of this cause, this is the effect. So this is more like the concept of karma. So that's because people are going after the fame, going after the wealth, going after the desire. So keep in mind, this three thing, we cannot take it with us when we pass. Try not to compete for the fame, try not to compete for the valuable, and if we see something that's not desirable, don't even bother. So this chapter really echo with chapter 2. Lao Tzu wants us to focus much on this part, the non-existence, the easy part, the small part even before nobody is noticed. The short part, the low part, we want to be humble. We don't want to be seen. We want to build up our character and we want to stay in the back. Just like the tree, Lao Tzu wants us to focus on our character, on our integrity. So these are all the invisible Tao that will all take it with us when we pass. This appearance is nothing that we can take. So put less focus on the appearance and put more focus on the Tao and the invisible part. Here is the body of the chapter 3. Thus, a saint's treatment is, in translation in Chinese, when Lao Tzu say a saint, he does not really say it's a singular or a plural form. So here I put a saint or saint. So it's singular or plural, it's fine. So saints, in the Western world, it's called saint, but in the Eastern world, it's called Buddha and Bodhisattva. So all these are the same term. So when we talk about saint, we can think about many saints in the Western religion, such as Saint Paul, Saint John. Jesus is also a saint, Mother Teresa. On the Eastern religion, we have, of course, number one, Shakyamuni Buddha. We have Confucius. We have Manjushri. We have Avalokiteshvara, the Guanyin, and the Medicine Buddha. many Buddha that you can name, right? There's at least 3,000 Buddha. Here, although Lao Tzu mentioned about the saint, whether it's Eastern saint or the Western saint, I want to emphasize to you that the saint is referred to you and me because although we come with this human body, but we have every potential to be a saint and a Buddha. Remember, I say that we are the original pure consciousness that come from the source. All the saints and sages, all the Buddha and Bodhisattva, they all come from the same place. They all come from the source. So we are all original pure consciousness that come from the source. But why do I have this physical body? Why? Well, that's because we all have our lesson to learn. If we learn our lesson, then we wouldn't be here. Think about when in Angel Camp, like, in summer school, before the pandemic, we always have like summer school, like summer school camp. And then if we go to a company for employment, sometimes they have like, they call it an internship, or you need to shadow somebody. We are in this physical realm. We are going to be the future saint. We are going to be the future Buddha. We are the angel that have an invisible wing. We are the future angel, the future Buddha, and the future saints and sages. That's what we are. We are a piece of wood. And this wood has so many potential to become something. And that something is to be a Buddha, Bodhisattva, and saints and sages. However, if one person does not want to polish the wood or carve the wood, it's fine. But we do have every potential to be saints and sages and Buddha. So some of you might not believe in me, but I want to prove to you that it can be true. So I want you to imagine that, can you be happy at this moment? Yes, you can, because when I ask you to be happy, you will start to think about the happy things in your life. So can I ask you to think about the very sad thing in your life? Yes, you can too. Just think about, I mean, we all have our bad moment. So when we think about our bad moment, the sorrow, the depression, the sadness will come. So it's really up to our mind. What do we want to become? It's our choice, whether we want to be a demon or to be a Buddha or a saint. I want to share with you chapter 2. So chapter 2 here, therefore a saint does according to his nature without intention. So as we go on to a different chapter, Lao Tzu uses this word a lot. He will say, therefore a saint will do this. Thus the saint will do this. So every time when Lao Tzu referred to a saint, I want you to think about, it's not really a saint. I want you to think about something that can relate to you, that can resonate with you. It's talking about you and me. So with those 3 symptoms that Lao Tzu mentioned earlier, if that happens to us, to Joanna, or to any one of you, what is my cure? How can I cure myself if I'm going after the influential, if I'm going after the money, if I have so much desire? So when Lao Tzu say a sense treatment or a sense something, suggestion is what Lao Tzu give to us for our Dao cultivation, the treatment. How can we discipline ourselves and how can we self-position? So keep that in mind. Lao Tzu wants us to cure our mind, empty their mind. Here I paraphrase as empty their human mind. We can have an angelical mind and we can also have a human mind. So human mind meaning the 3 poison or the 7 emotions, the pleasure, the sorrow, the depression, the love, the anger. So this is the human mind. There's a picture of the yin and yang. On the black part, you see this is our body. So anything that you can see from your eyes is the black part. This is anything that manifests from this physical realm, the gain and the loss, the money and the fame. Okay, so everything. And then this white dot, it's the wisdom that we have. You see, it's so tiny. People in this world have a big problem because we are all in this black part. And the black part is dominating the white part. That's why we are lost. So it's very important to know where we come from. We come from the white part, and then we manifest ourselves to the black part with our wisdom discover, then it will help us to return to the white part. In some meditation retreat, there's a term always used on the mind, body, and soul. So I want to explain to you how mind, body, and soul incorporate into this yin and yang picture. So this white part is the spirit. The black part is the body. So you say, where's the mind go? The mind is right in the middle. Can you see the middle line? So in order for the body to communicate with the spirit, you need to have your mind clear. If your mind is not clear, the channel will be blocked, then you will not be able to go back. You will be just living by yourself. That's why sometimes we have wisdom that comes so subtle, and it will come and go, come and go. For example, when we go to, before the pandemic, I love to go to buffet because that's the time that I can choose the food that I want, and everybody can choose their own food. Anyway, my mind, my little white dot tell me, Joanna, you shouldn't eat anymore. But then my tongue tell me that, oh, Joanna, you should eat it. It tastes so good. So eventually, my white dot will be overcome by my sensation. So the white one, it's like very dim. Sometimes it will grow big, sometimes grow small, and sometimes it can be blown out easily. So it's really important to know how our mind and the spirit and the body work. So this spirit, it's the white part, as you can see. So you say, what is this black thing here? The black dot, it's our wisdom. And this wisdom will help us to deal with our daily life when we go to the black part, because it's supposed to be white, but because white cannot be on top of white, so there's this little black dot here. Because the spirit is the original pure consciousness, it does not decrease, does not increase. It's there, but it's empty. And then you need something to manifest the original pure consciousness. That's why this black dot is here. I want to talk about this picture because I post this one on the meetup. It's my front cover. So when we empty our mind, it's the same as we exercise, we do our physical exercise, we want to lower our low density lipoprotein, cholesterol, and our saturated fat. In terms of our mind, there's something that we need to empty out. We need to empty out our human desire. We need to lessen our human emotion. Here, talking about the mind, body, and soul. So these three circles, they look so perfect. They look so perfect, but in reality, it's very difficult to achieve. It's very easy to say than done. Think about body is right here, spirit is right here, mind is right here. So let me explain to you why I say it's very difficult to do. So to balance our mind, body, and soul is to allow our body to travel to spirit without any blockage. That will be here. So remember, the mind is the thin line here. So we need to travel back and forth without blockage. Unfortunately, our mind is filled many of our 7 emotions: the pleasure, the anger, the sorrow, the depression, the love, the hate, the jealousy, and the envy. If we have so much thing clutter on the bridge, it's all piling up. How can we walk from this side to this side? We cannot. To make situation worse, some people put so many things on the bridge and the bridge collapse. Then they have to find other means to go through the spirit. For example, maybe they use some kind of hot air balloon to go through, but that will be very rare, very rare. Then that means you cannot walk back and forth on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. We need this channel to open on a momentary basis. If our mind is filled with so much clutter, what are we going to do? We have to clean it up. Unfortunately, it's not easy to clean up because we live in this physical realm, and everything in our physical realm, everything changed. We deal with our coworker, we have to deal with our family member, we have to deal with our kids, our parents, our neighbor, maybe some people from the temple, some organization that you belong to. Our life is not still. So we just have to constantly picking up our trash. Today, if I pick it up, tomorrow there will be more, and they just constantly build up. So it's really important to watch how clean is your mind. And if we see that there's a trash, we have to pick it up. If we don't pick it up, it's just going to pile up. So here it's very important to empty our luggage and garbage. Don't just look at it. We have to pick it up. In the Tao session, we often talk about cultivation. So cultivation is very much like cultivating the land be suitable for any vegetation. There's several parts of the cultivation: the seed selection, the soil preparation, the weed control, the nutrient, and the water management. So the weed control is very important, and the soil preparation is very important. You have to pick up the thing that does not belong to there, the little rock, the trash. You have to put enough nutrient. You have to make sure the weed doesn't come out. So we here, it's our mental trash, our depression, our anger, our greed, our three poison, aversion, jealousy, and ignorance. On this slide, I want to elaborate a little bit more on empty their mind. In the earlier slide, I talked about empty our minds. It sounds very normal because this is the term that we use. Oh yeah, we need to clean our mind, of course. But what if somebody say, I cannot clean my mind because I have depression, I have some childhood trauma, I've been abused by somebody, and that trauma is so big, I cannot handle my life. What are we going to do? Some of us have some of this in our mind. And that's normal because we are here to learn how to manifest ourselves. That's why we are in this sharing session here. I want to share with you what is Tao's perspective on how to deal with our big depression, how to deal with our trauma. So let's look at this picture here. So on the surface, we can see that this yin and yang, on this black part is the yin energy. It's negative energy. The dark, the passive energy, and the yang is the positive energy. We say that somebody is in trauma, that means that person is in the dark side, cannot see the light. So how can this person be rescued, or how can this person bring him or herself up? So keep in mind that on this picture here, it's really about the cycle of the energy. So if we can divide this yin and yang circle into 4 quadrants, you can see birth, youth, adult, and death. This is to express from the perspective of our life. On the right, it's another picture of creation, growth, harvest, and destruction. So this illustrates everything in this physical realm that go through this 4 phase. So if somebody is in the trauma, this person really have to pull him or herself up, because if him or herself does not be pulled up, the cycle will continue. If we are talking about this one, that means in the next life to come, this person will continue to suffer. And in terms of the physical manifestation, here we can see one good news. And that good news is that this person is in the destruction phase because this person is in the very dense energy. Trauma will not last long because the cycle will continue. Eventually, this person will see the light. So then how can this person see the light? As you can see on this picture, there's a white part and a black part. So if this person can see there's a little white wisdom within him or her, then this person will be able to pull him or herself up. So in order to solve this situation is to bring the source energy in. The source energy is the white part, to share with this person the knowledge of Tao, to share with this person the wisdom of Buddha, to share this person the divine mantra. Only the source energy will be able to pull this person up from the depression or trauma. There's no other way. Based on the yin and yang picture, if we know that we come from the black part, eventually we have to return to the white. So we have to be able to discover the white part here, the wisdom. And once we can focus on the white part, even though that white is just a little bit, if you can make the violet, it will become bigger. If you can be that person's friend or family, bring the knowledge and Tao to them and tell them that you are the original source consciousness. You have every potential to be a great sentient sages, but now you are just being covered with darkness. Let me show you where the divine energy that you can be connected to, then this person will be safe. Another way of explain this is the five element. Here, the five element is the water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. So we know that the water, with more water, the tree will grow tall and strong. And with the wood, the fire can burn. Fire can destroy things and then make things burn, and those things will become ashes. Underneath our earth, when it's being settled for a long time, there is a mineral down below. So that's the metal. The depression and the trauma is in this element here. If we look at this metal here, metal is same as the destruction. If you look at this picture here. So based on the yin and yang picture, metal is the destruction. In the autumn time when the farmer harvests, how does the farmer harvest? The farmer harvests with knife, with the blade to cut the wheat, to cut the corn, to cut the vegetable. So the metal element represents destruction. So outside it's the generation. Inside is the destruction. Water can destroy fire. We are talking about moderate situation. We are not talking about extreme situation. If we have 1,000 acres of fire, we can solve it with just a bucket of water. So that's an extreme situation. We are talking about the normal situation here. So water can overcome fire. Fire can burn metal. Metal can chop wood, like the ox can chop wood. The wood can penetrate, the root can penetrate the earth, and the earth can overcome water. In the ancient time, people used the earth as a blockage so the water doesn't come up. So what can overcome metal element? That's fire, right? We see this arrow from here to here. Fire can overcome metal. So if we look at this fire here, and when you look at this yin and yang here, it means the bright energy. With this too, I have to bring in the a hexagram because it's related. I want to illustrate that fire represents the bright energy. As you can see in this later heaven, there's a hexagram. So this a hexagram is made up of a symbol, and inside there is the yin and yang. Water is down below, fire is on the top. In the a hexagram, fire represents brightness. It represents the sun. How does the sun operate? The sun operates eternally, consistently, day and night, It never stops. There is a divine Tao energy behind all the cosmos force. Think about fire represents sun. So sun, it represents energy, represents wisdom, represent brightness. If somebody is in the trauma, this person needs the fire, the sun, the brightness to empty their mind. It's really important, even for us. Sometimes we have a little situation that we cannot jump over. We have to be able to think about what can I do to save myself, to liberate myself. Some people choose to go to a beach. Some people choose to go to mountain because when they go to beach, when they go to mountain, they feel that they are part of the universe. This is having the yin and yang working in favor of you because when we are in the black part, in order to elevate ourselves, it's like a circle keep turning and turning. So if you can turn the wheel, you will be able to come to this quadrant. If you are in the destruction stage, and if you can turn yourself, you will come to the creation of the happiness. You will be able to grow your wisdom. So in this wisdom, you will be able to help many people. However, in our life, many situations come. So you will come to the harvest and destruction phase. So it's really important how to minimize these two quadrants. I'm sorry, minimize the time that you spend in these two quadrants, or in this quadrant at least, the destruction quadrant, and then increase our time in the creation and the growing phase. In our life, we are constantly playing the tag war. There's negative energy dragging us, and then there's our source coming to drag us. We just have to make sure that our source of energy is on top of the yin energy. Feel their bellies. It can be paraphrased as feel their virtue. We need to build up our muscle. We need to build up our cultivation and lay good foundation. So if somebody is focusing so much on their names, possession, and desire, they will focus less on their virtue. So again, we have to think about which one are we focusing on. They cannot be like balanced. It's either one or the other. When we fill up our belly or our virtue, keep this in mind. Here, down below, with the mirrors, we have to fill the holes first from the previous life. When there's leftover, we can start to save. So here is just a water running over to this surface. And this is our karma debt that we need to fulfill in our life. We have so much karma. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So we have to fill our karma. Some people have more potholes. Some people have less. So if you have more potholes, you need to work your way up. You need to fill as much hole as possible. And for those who have less pothole, then we don't want to waste our time. It's our good time, good chance to build up our virtue and build up our bellies. So some people, they don't have that much potholes. The rich people, the people who has good family background, they got money, they got social status. When the kids want something, they just give and take. They don't have a second thought for what they need or what they want, because whenever they think of something, they can take it. There's a disadvantage too. That's why the rich people have more difficult time of cultivation. They are living in a good environment. They are not aware of how many potholes they have. They pursue on whatever they need. They went on to pursue their fame, their names. They want more money, and they incur more karma in their life. I want to say that sometimes being rich, it's a good thing, but sometimes it might not be a good thing. Regardless how much pothole we have to fill in as much as possible. Same thing like how we run our finance. If we have a credit card debt, when we receive our income, we have to pay our debt first. It's the same concept. Diminishing their ambitions strengthen their bones. Here I paraphrase as diminishing their earthly ambitions strengthen their cultivation. Ambition is not such a bad word. I can have ambition in a good way. For example, I want to study Tao Te Ching back and forth. I want to be able to memorize every phrase. That's my ambition. It's good to have good ambition. But here, Lao Tzu is talking about the earthly ambition. So like Mother Teresa, she has really great ambition. She wants to save the humankind, everybody in India. So she has good ambition. But here, Lao Tzu is talking about the mundane ambition, the temporary one, the external one, the one that does not have to do with our original consciousness. So then if I study Tao Te Ching, would it be temporary or would it be considered external belonging? It will not, because when we study scripture, when we study the Diamond Sutra, when we study Bible, when we study the inner life, when we study the great learning, when we study the Tao Te Ching, Whatever we take within ourselves, it becomes part of our virtue, becomes part of our character, and it stores in our alaya consciousness, and it becomes part of our good karma. Therefore, having good knowledge and good wisdom is something that we can take with us. So those are good ambition, and it's permanent belonging. It can sit into our mind for lifetime to come. So here, ambition is talking about the majority enjoyment and excitement for sensation. Our human ambition, it falls into these two categories. The material one and the excitement for our sensation. Some people want to have a great ambition to go to the moon. They want to travel around the world. Those are temporary. This is what Lao Tzu say, diminishing their earthly ambition. Bones. Here, Lao Tzu is referring to cultivation. We need to strengthen our cultivation, our self-observation. So cultivation very much, it lays back onto our discipline. How much can we discipline? When Shakyamuni Buddha passed, before he passed, his favorite disciple, Ananda, asked him, when you die, nobody can guide us. Who can be our teacher? Shakyamuni Buddha said that it may be that after I am gone, that some of you may think that now we have no teacher, but it's not how you're supposed to think. You should have the Dharma and the discipline that I have taught you to be your guide. On the right, we have the 5 precepts. This is the famous Buddhist precept. And in Tao, we have our precept in our temple too. And then we have the daily ritual that can mold and to guide us. Our 64 patriarch, Sizun, before he passed, his follower also asked him the same question. Sizun, you are going to pass. Who is going to guide us before you are with us? And are you going to select anybody to be our teacher? So Sizun say, no, I'm not going to pick anybody. You be your own guide. You should follow the truth. Shouldn't follow anybody. Follow yourself. The discipline be our guide. The discipline is our internal teacher. We all have in our mind, we all have a benchmark. We all have our thermometer. If the temperature goes too high or too low, we have to watch out. Strengthen our bone is to examine ourselves, constantly watching ourselves, just like Guan Yin said, we need to self-observe, observe ourselves within, because only we can observe ourselves. We cannot have other people observe ourselves because our consciousness is invisible. Often the people have no knowledge and no desire. Knowledge, Lao Tzu is talking about knowledge being overdone, overkill. So here I have some good example. The red meat in the supermarket, people go to buy red meat. If they see it's red meat, the color is red, it's good, but you don't know whether behind the counter the butcher injects some red coloring into the red meat. So therefore the meat that you buy is red. I think on the YouTube, there are some grocery store, they do this kind of illegal practice. And also hot dog and the ham. What color is the ham? It's like pink color, right? And same thing for the hot dog. Hot dog, before cooking and after cooking, it's the same color, right? Is that right? But that's not normal, because if you cook red meat, it's supposed to be red. And then after cook, it's supposed to be brown, right? It's common sense. So think about what happened to the hot dog and the ham. Somebody during the process, during the manufacturing process, they inject some kind of food coloring, which is carcinogen, which can cause cancer. So this is scientists, they misuse their knowledge. And then here is just one example. In 2013, the Boston Marathon bombing, somebody invent this explosive device. And then also the Muslim, they like to use some kind of explosive device for suicide bombing. Again, that's another knowledge overuse, cybercrime. The last one, recycling of animal and slaughterhouse waste. Right now, we are experiencing some environmental degradation. So some people come up with this idea of a recycling animal, recycling dead animal from the animal shelter, the sick animal, from the animal hospital, and also from the grocery behind the counter. When the butcher, they cut the meat, and some of the meat are waste. So they will send it to the recycling center. Unfortunately, this is $1 million business. There's a lot of money involved. So when this product is being recycled, where does it go? It goes to the pet food. That's why in the pet foods, if you look at the label, it says it's made out of animal byproduct. It has chicken, it has beef, it has so and so. You get an idea. And on the right, there's a bad knowledge. We know gossiping is bad knowledge, tricks, fraud, and scamming. So Lao Tzu say, we shouldn't have this knowledge, this bad knowledge, and we shouldn't have desire. So this echo with chapter 1. If we don't have desire, or if we lessen our desire, we will be able to observe our true self. If we can focus on the white part, then it can allow us to bring us back to the white area. So the clever people were not there to do. Clever is, again, it's knowledge being misused. It means being tricky, clever, and smart. It's not about wisdom at all. Here, we're not there to do. So those people were not there to compete, not to value the visible wealth, not to see the desire. So being a wise person, you and me and everybody here, we want to spend more time on our cultivation, focusing on the original source of our 7 emotions, focusing on the original source of our 3 poisons, the 3 poisons. So if we go back, where does the 3 poison come from? It comes from the 7 emotion. Where does the 7 emotion comes from? It comes from our 6 senses, our 6 consciousness. So we need to control our 6 consciousness, always have a thermometer in our mind. Do not reveal our cleverness. Have you ever seen a wise person try to show off his or her ego? No, right? If a person is wise, it will be more like chapter 2. Lao Tzu say, one person want to stay low, want to be humble, want to be calm, want to be invisible, want to stay in the back. Do without doing, then nothing is unmanageable. Here, the first word is do. Do is a verb. So how can we do? So without doing becomes the adjective. So without doing is to describe the do. So without doing what? Without doing, not having our mind being controlled by our emotion, being controlled by the 3 poisons. So here I put Tao inside. We need to have our original consciousness to stay in our mind, to stay in our center, to be in the captain chair of these 5 senses, our ear, eyes, nose, our mouth, and our physical sensation. Let Tao be in the control, let Tao be the pilot to take control of everything. So if we can do that, that means Wu Wei. Wu Wei is a very basic term in Tao, but it's also the most difficult term to understand. So Wu Wei is to do everything naturally. To do naturally, that means according to our pure original consciousness from the source. And that's according to our inner nature, according to our inner Tao, our Buddha nature. Let's say, for example, I tell you, I like your car, let me have it. So this is not according to our inner nature, because our inner nature has no desire. It's only from my human mind that I'm talking to you, that I like something from you. So this is not Wu Wei. Thought has to be pure. If the thought is pure, if the thought is not selfish, if the thought is for other people, then it's considered wu wei. Just like last time I talked about mother's love, it's wu wei. Here I want to give you a great example on here, buy one, get one free. Right now it's Christmas time. There's a lot of places having on sale. A merchandise is worth $100. I did not intend to buy, but then if it's discount to $50, then maybe I will start to think, okay, maybe I want to buy. Then that's not wu wei. So if somebody say, oh no, if it's 50%, I wouldn't want to buy. What if it's $10? Would you buy? No, I wouldn't want to buy. What if I give it to you? If you give it to me, that will be like trash. Then that's wu wei, because you are not being influenced by the pricing. You are not being influenced by the merchandise. You are not influenced by so many people's action, because a lot of people want it, and then you also want it too. So wu wei, it's not being decided by our 7 emotion. It's not being decided by whatever advertising is being said to you. I don't want to buy. It's trash. Don't give it to me. That's called wu wei. So here, let me give you a summary. This it's a summary of this chapter. So this is the cause, and this is a symptom. Therefore, we are tempted by the fame, tempted by the wealth, tempted by the greed. And this is what it reflects on us, because we are tempted. So then there's a source of competition. People start to steal, calculating the gain and the loss. And we have disturbance. So in this time, we are in the down spiral of the darkness. So in order to pull ourselves up, we need to cure ourselves. This is the treatment. Lao Tzu give us this treatment. So when you look at this chapter on the surface, it seems like Lao Tzu is telling us how to govern a society. But in reality, our body is a micro society. Look at this picture here. We have our society we need to govern. Our eyes is our people. Our hands, our ears, our nose, our mouth, it's what we need to govern, right? We have so many things that we need to govern within ourselves every day, every moment. But I want to say, especially you want to watch out on your eyes and ears, because the eyes and ears has more electoral vote. Right now we are still in the election time. It has not been solved yet. We don't know who is the president yet. It has not been finalized, but you understand the electoral vote. The eyes and the hearing, each one is 20%, but it's the majority vote. We have to watch out very closely. So next time, when we read a chapter, when Lao Tzu talk about a society, we have to reflect on ourselves. We also have a society that we have to govern, our own little people. And who is the saint? The saint is us. I put it right here. We are the oneness. We need to be able to unify everybody. So everybody work together. Remember I say we are the original pure consciousness that come from the source. So that source is the same source as where Buddha come from, where Jesus come from, where Mother Teresa come from. So we have the source and we have the power, we have the control to unify all. So it's up to us. So here is the symptom of our society. Now, when you look at this, it helps you to understand this chapter more. Everything makes sense. Symptom of our society is in the first section. Here is the cure, and here's a summary. So when you look at this, try to look at it as it's a symptom for ourselves. How can we deal with the situation in our life, in our daily life? Because none of us are government official. The most important thing is that we want to build up ourselves. How can we deal with our symptom? And then how can we cure it? If we do everything according to the nature, not within our human mind, it has to be according to our Buddha nature, according to our inner nature. If we do everything according to our source, according to our pure consciousness, then everything will be manageable. So our next session will be chapter 4, the activation of Tao. I will talk about what is the correlation of Tao and making tea. And I thank your participation. If mistakes were made or say during today's sharing, I ask the forgiveness from the Heavenly Mother, Buddha Maitreya, Qigong Buddha, Sizhun Simu, and Masters. Thank you so much.